to Fairfield Today. Pleasure to be with you on this Tuesday as we begin our taping. Another new year, 2014, well underway. We hope all the holidays up through Martin Luther King Day last week were good for you, and everything is, even with the weather we've had here in Lancaster, Fairfield County. Of course, it must be Super Bowl weather. We could see the weather deteriorating out there, so as we move closer to the Super Bowl, it seems like that's how it is here in Lancaster. Just thankful we're not in New York where we would have to sit out in this kind of weather for a Super Bowl game. But it's a pleasure to have you with us on Fairfield Today, and a pleasure to be here in kind of the warm confines of Fairfield Federal downtown. Our first guest today is a young man that actually I heard some commercials on the local radio station, and then I saw an article in the Lancaster Eagle Gazette, and I was kind of fascinated. The headline on this was "Life Coach Helps Clients Beat Stress and Achieve Goals." I'd like to introduce and perhaps maybe many of you haven't met him or heard about him, Alex Dolin. First of all, Alex, thank you for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Alex is a life coach, and we're going to talk about that, kind of flesh that out a little bit about what a life coach is, what a life coach does. But I thought perhaps we should maybe get a little background on you, where you're from, what your educational background is, and what got you here to Lancaster.
Yeah, well, I live here in Lancaster. My family was originally from West Virginia, but we moved to Lancaster from different jobs, and so that's how we got here. And my background, I'm educated pretty well with a master's in divinity, as well as I'm finishing my master's in professional counseling.
Very good. Well, and we were talking a little bit before we went on about a life coach. I guess you can have a life coach in about every area. I mean, there are life coaches that some you'd be qualified to talk to people about, perhaps some you would not.
Right.
Yours is more in the stress-related area?
Yes, I'm more focused on stress management and self-care. But you'll find coaches, if you Google any type of subject or topic, on fitness or eating or mental health, but mine is more on the counseling side as well as life coaching because of my background.
And I noticed you're a board-certified Christian life coach with the International Christian Coaching Association, and it's a branch of the American Association of Christian Counselors. So obviously, Christianity, that aspect, is important to you.
Right, my faith is definitely important to me, but I can coach people no matter what their faith is, their background, their religion. It's not really that big of a deal, but it does definitely help to have a connection with other Christians.
Sure. When you talk to somebody, first of all, how would somebody contact you if somebody listening right now, viewing us right now, would feel like, and I know you had commercials on, and I thought it was interesting, and right before Christmas, there's probably not a more stressful time than at Christmas, that season where there's so much going on, life happens, and then now added on to that, we've got all the Christmas and New Year's aspect of everything going on, a lot of financial stress, a lot of strains on families. I know there are more domestic issues. The police department reports about that. So I thought it was interesting that you had your commercials on there. Perfect timing, too, I might add. That was it. But do you see around Christmas time, that seasonal aspect of it, there is more of an emphasis on people need ways to cope with the stress?
Well, stress is an interesting thing. I think it's highly talked about in a negative way, but it's really something that helps everyone out on a daily basis.
Really?
Yeah, and if you manage the stress properly, it helps you do this interview with me properly, as opposed to being either lazy and sloppy or it's just so high-strung that you're not able to focus. And so having the right balance of stress is what makes us awesome and good and productive and healthy. But you're right, during the holiday season, that's what I wrote about in the article, as well as on the website. There's different web articles as well about managing stress and dealing with that.
So stress isn't always a negative thing.
Right.
From what you're telling me, some stress is good, and we probably all deal with stress every day.
Definitely, I think so. That's exactly what I mean.
So your website is at alexanderdolin.com?
Yeah, D-O-L-I-N.
D-O-L-I-N, alexanderdolin.com. And when I was looking around on the website, kind of doing a little homework for this, again, you've got some information on there about how they would contact you. So what are some of the signs that if somebody, well, I don't know if I'm coping with stress, I don't know if I'm handling that well, what are some of the signs that we would see as an uninformed individual that would indicate we might need your services?
Yeah, and a lot of people get worried about it when it's the extremely end of the stress, the high end of it. Like you get heart palpitations, your sweaty palms, you're not sleeping well, your mind is always busy thinking about what's next, what's going to happen. But there's also the other end of the spectrum. If you feel like you're actually kind of on the depressive side of things, where you're not enjoying life anymore, you're not as productive as you used to be or you want to be, and so that's also another area where you need to deal with the stress as well, the lack of stress.
So there's kind of maybe this bipolar aspect of it. One end is just crazy, just go on, and the other end is maybe you're down a little bit at time. You can't figure it out.
Yeah, definitely.
So are you related to it? Is your Christianity based coaching? Are you related to any kind of a church aspect, or that's just one aspect of your coaching?
Yes and no. I especially like to work with pastors, but I also work with CEOs, nurses, firemen, anyone really. Like I said, stress deals with everyone has to deal with stress, and so I do enjoy working with pastors because I have a heart for them. I'm a master's in divinity. I have experience, in ministry and working with pastors.
I guess I never thought about that, but it should have been a perfect group of people to talk about service kind of people in terms of policemen and firemen. There are those jobs, and talking with those kinds of folks on our show here, tremendous stress in those jobs. I mean, stress on them and certainly stress on their families. Mm-hmm. And do you get those kind of people calling you up saying, I just need a little help here?
Yeah, definitely get those type of relationships, the firemen, the CEOs, the service, and even caretakers. And so they go through some traumatic situations, and that's where the counseling helps as well as the life coaching.
We've had a few instances of that, and that's another aspect I hadn't thought of. Caretakers. I don't think people appreciate the role of a caretaker, perhaps with a family member. Many people look at the family member and say, "Oh, isn't it nice? Their Aunt Sally's taking care of them." But so much stress, I think, falls on the caretaker, and I don't think they're given much credit. No. Not that would relieve the stress, but I think that job is a very stressful.
Yeah, they're definitely not thought about very often, and they're in the trenches every single day, taking care of other people, but they need taken care of as well. And that's where burnout happens when pastors and caretakers and other people are in the trenches on a daily, weekly basis. They don't get a break for themselves. And then that's where people need more of a therapeutic approach. But for the life coaching, that's where I can help prevent people from ending up in those situations.
Talking with Alex Dolin. Alex is a life coach, a Christian-based coaching association background, his divinity kind of thing going on in his life, but that isn't all he deals with. So if somebody calls you up and or goes on the website and gets some information and say, I guess I'll call Alex and just see. So is a phone call or is that the first step, and then it's decided at that point what's next, whether it's a personal meeting, whether we can deal with this on the phone, what kind of evolves from that first phone call?
Yeah, the first time seeing me, if it's on phone, Skype, or in person, is usually free. It's just to get to know each other, see if it's a good fit, and get the basic information that I would need for the coaching. And we would go from that first initial intake session and then go from there to see if it would be a good match between the coach and the client.
So is it Lancaster and Fairfield County you're finding, and again, you've been here for a while, are you finding this is a good place to be based from?
Yeah, well, the great thing about coaching is I do have a lot of Lancaster clients, but you can do it on the phone, on Skype, email, so I have the whole world to market to, really.
So is there a phone number that someone could call you if perhaps they aren't that well versed on the computer, or they would just like to talk with you one time?
Sure, definitely. This is a 740 number, 590-3598.
And the website is alexanderdolin.com, and I guess DOLIN, we want to mention that. So I guess, and then there are links on there, or there are ways to contact you and things that, I guess, little clues on there that if you're...
Yeah, a lot of resources and articles and helpful things on there as well.
Well, good. Well, we appreciate you being with us today, Alex. It's AlexanderDolin, DOLIN.com. Life coaching, dealing with stress, how to cope with that. I'm stressful every day driving in the snow every day. People go to Columbus every day. I'm surprised you don't have many of those people around. Well, good luck on your on your career here and continued success, and perhaps in the future we can get you back and see how things are moving.
Thanks
Good.
for having me.
Thank you. Alexander Dolin's our first guest on Fairfield Today.